to Freddy's Coming For You.
Hi, I'm Rick.
I'm Andrew, and this review is for A Nightmare on Elm Street in memory of the late, great Wes Craven, who sadly died 2 weeks ago. I didn't see this film actually until I was about 15. It was on the banned list in my house. My mum wouldn't let me see it.
Probably a good thing.
Probably was, yeah, because I saw it. It's a funny thing though, I saw it recently with a group of friends at the cinema, and because it was re-released for Halloween, and they're a lot younger than me, and they all thought it was crap. They all said, oh, the effects are rubbish, it's not scary, and I was still sat there just as I had when I first saw it. I was hiding behind my seat. It still freaked me out. The blood, the violence. The scariest scene for me is when Amanda's killed and she's dragged along the ceiling. It was up and down, the blood's pouring out. Oh, it freaked me out. When did you first see it?
I think I was about a young teenager when I seen it. It was scary. I mean, at the time, it was one of the most scary films out there. I mean, yeah, today it doesn't still pack that same punch because it's been so ripped off and so overplayed to the point that when you watch it now, you'd think it was sort of a parody of itself, or maybe sort of it comes across parts of it maybe cheesy, but that's not because it's not good. It's just because it was so good that everyone rips it off. It ruins it when you look back at it, and it's not aged that well. I mean, like, some of the acting performances were amazing. Like, you've got a young Johnny Depp in this movie. I mean, he's in a main role, but he's not really sort of a main focus of the movie. He's Nancy's boyfriend, and he gets killed, but you never actually see him have an interaction with Freddy, and you don't even really get to see much of a death scene. I mean, he gets basically swallowed by a bed.
Yeah, and then the geyser of blood shoots up out of the mattress.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's a great effect, and it's very, and especially at the end when they've had to put the buckets down because the blood's coming through the ceiling. That's quite effective, but yeah, it's a rather daft scene, I think.
That's the thing with this movie, is parts of it haven't aged well, but the thing that's scary the most about it is still there to this day, I think, is that if you watch this movie, you watch it at night time and you're going to go to bed, that is on your mind. You think, I'm going to have a dream about Freddy. Yeah. Like, is he just going to pop up in there?
The thing I noticed when I was rewatching it is how Freddy's voice changed. I mean, in the original, his voice is very gravelly. It's like, no, you die. Yeah. And then gradually as the sequels go on, he just becomes a comic character. I don't know if you've seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence when he just bursts out of the wardrobe and goes, miss me! And his voice is exactly like it was in the original, and that freaks me out. When he starts to go into the comedy routine,
camp. It gets very camp in the sequel.
It falls apart. But in those originals, you go to sleep and you think, am I going to think about Freddy? Is Freddy going to turn up with those razor claws going to start, and it's really, really unnerving, and that's what's so brilliant about it.
Yeah, because it makes it more personal, like, because you yourself can have a dream about Freddy Krueger. It works really well in the film as well, because these characters they have that safety when they're awake, but you can't stay awake forever. Mm-hmm. So there's always that threat sort of looming, like, are they going to fall asleep? And eventually they're going to get tired, they're going to have to fall asleep, and he's going to be there waiting for them, and that is a really good sort of clever psychological thing throughout this movie.
Absolutely, that's something a lot of horror films don't get these days, is the psychology, and that was what was brilliant about Craven. He understood the psychology of dreams, of The Hills Have Eyes, being trapped in the desert, Last House on the Left, the fear of walking into the unknown and being accosted by horrible, rapists and murderers. That's what he did that was so brilliant. He was a master of that, I think, and that's what I think we're missing in horror films today. There's no one who can tap into your unconscious the way that man could.
And I mentioned that some of the acting wasn't amazing. I mean, some of the acting was good. Some of the acting was really good.
Heather Langenkamp as Nancy is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's rare to see a female heroine that's that resourceful and that clever and that.
And Robert Englund.
Oh, you couldn't have a Freddy Krueger film like Robert Englund. He was a master. I mean, Jackie Earle Haley, as good as he was in Watchmen, he's no Freddy Krueger. No. There's only one man who can play that part, and it's got to be Englund every time.
Yeah, I mean, he's brilliant in the role. He absolutely encapsulates that character. He's perfect. You couldn't have put anyone else in that costume that could have played it any better than him.
Exactly. I'll go back to it again, but it's what I call the Keaton principle of Michael Keaton is Batman because he doesn't like a man who would dress up like that, just in the same way that Robert Englund doesn't like a man who'd need, really intimidating, muscles or, a fixed expression. No, he's got the razor glove and that's all he needs. And the voice in the original, and he just, scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, when I watched this as a kid, it was probably the scariest movie I watched as a kid.
Yeah, I think I was probably the same. I think the only other film that really scared me was The Terminator, but I saw that about a 6 or 7 year old, and that totally freaked me out because there was this monster made of metal who could break into your house and kill you. But this, it really unnerved me. It still did now, even though the kids that I was watching it with thought it was, it wasn't scary. It's still really unnerving, especially in a cinema, in a tight, enclosed space, which is dark. It's the perfect.
Horror's always better in the cinema with that sound
reverberating off the walls.
It's just a perfect setting for a horror movie.
Absolutely. definitely. If you've only seen the sequels, I mean, it's like what they say in Scream, the first Nightmare on Elm Street is scary, the rest suck. I think it's the third one, the Dream Warriors one, is okay, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare is brilliant, the rest avoid. But if you've only seen like the remake that was done in 2010, which is awful, which even the cast, even Rooney Mara, who played the lead, said it was crap. So go back and see this one. It's definitely worth seeking out if you haven't the original. And it's, if nothing else, in honour of the memory of Craven, who was a great director. And I'll mention this now, I watched last night. There's a short film on YouTube, 30 minutes long, called The Interrogation of Freddy Krueger, which has just been directed as a sort of a homage to Nightmare on Elm Street and to Craven, which is also worth seeking out. Definitely worth watching.
The reason we chose this film is because, yeah, he also did Scream, which we have a review for. But Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is the one he'll be most remembered for. I mean, obviously Scream is more contemporary. When audiences watch that now for the first time, they probably enjoy that more. But if you were born in the 80s or around then, you're not going to top Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, you're not. It's a masterpiece of sustained tension. Maybe not great acting, but it's the horror filmmaker's horror film.
And one of the greatest horror monsters ever created.
Absolutely. Probably stands on top with Alien, maybe Jason.
Oh, Freddy tops Jason. So, I mean, I'd give this movie... I mean, if you asked me when I was a kid how scary this movie was, I think I'd have probably gave it like a 5. Now, with retrospect and stuff, I'd give this movie a 3.5. I do think it's still a good, solid horror. It's not perfect with the acting. Some of the characters don't really get as flushed out as what you'd like to. But when it comes to the lead and the villain, it can't be faulted.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4. I love it a great deal. It's probably my favourite Craven movie. That and I suppose Scream. And I do agree with Rick. It's an iconic film. If you're our generation, you'll remember it. It was great going back and seeing it again and just remembering how much it scared me the first time. So I'll give it a 4. I think, yeah, I agree with Rick. The acting is stodgy. Given the budget that they had, the effects aren't brilliant, which is understandable, but yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't already.
So I hope you liked the review. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.